I am making an update to my Shaddoll dracotail deck profile. I managed to get two copies of a card I was wanting three of, but I figured this is good enough for now. And I played the deck at my locals recently, got fourth place, which I won against Shining Sarcophagus not Shining Sarcophagus Dark Magician. I didn't play that guy at all this week. I won against Snake Eyes Mitsurugi. I lost against what was it? It was Canine something. I think it was Kashtira Canine. And then I won against Radiant Typhoon. And then I won against Dogmatica Mitsurugi. Starting off with the monsters, I play two copies of dracotail Frixel. Frixel is one of the newer ones. I want to play three, but I only have two, and I've been told I only need to play one. But all of the dracotail monsters share the effect that they are sent to the graveyard as fusion material. You can set a dracotail spell or trap from your deck. All dracotail effects are hard once per turns. And then the the dragons, then have an additional effect they can use after they set a spell or trap. Frixel has the effect that on summon, you can target a dracotail monster that's in your graveyard, summon it, and then return a dracotail monster you control back to the hand. Next, I play three copies of Dracotail Mululu. Mululu is a main phase effect, quick effect to fusion summon while it's on the field. And then when Mululu sets a spell or trap, you can then also non-target negate the effects of one monster on the field until the end of the turn. Next, I play three copies of Lucius. Lucius has the effect that when summoned, you can add a Dracotail monster from your deck to your hand except for another copy of itself. Then I play three copies of Femena. This is the main one that you want to open. As Femena is a main phase quick effect, you can discard it to then be able to fusion summon using monsters from your hand or field as material. However, the one thing I will mention is that all of the Dracotail effects to fusion summon are dragon or spellcaster specific. So there are some videos I made before, like Thunder Dragon, Dracotail, that just doesn't work as well as I thought because of how the Dracotails lock you into dragons or spellcasters with fusion summoning. At least for their own effects, I should say. And then lastly, I play one copy of Dracotail Pan and two copies of Dracotail Urgula. Unlike the rest of the Dracotails, these two do not have any effects on field. Instead, they have their own unique effects after setting a spell or trap, and then they also have grave effects. Urgula can banish itself to then return a It will banish itself to return a spellcaster Dracotail from your graveyard back to your hand. Ordinarily, it'd be Femena. And then Pan has the effect that if your fusion monster is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, then you can take a non-fusion Dracotail from your graveyard and special summon it. And to use these effects from the graveyard, they put themselves at the bottom of the deck. And I realized I never mentioned it. After they set a Dracotail spell or trap, Pan will let you destroy one monster, and then Urgula will let you destroy a spell or trap. And then for the Shaddoll part of the deck, I play one copy of Hedgehog. Hedgehog, when sent to the graveyard by card effect, lets you add another Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand. One copy of Genius. Genius when sent to the graveyard, lets you target a monster your opponent controls. Neither player can activate that or the effects of monsters with that card, same name for the rest of the turn. Dragon just when sent to the graveyard for a card effect, lets you target a spell trap your opponent controls and destroy it. And then lastly, I play one copy of Shaddoll Beast. Shaddoll Beast, when sent to the graveyard, just lets you draw one card. And then for the last of the support monsters, I play 3 copies of King of the Swamp. King of the Swamp can be substituted for any one specific name for a fusion summon. And then you can discard it to the graveyard to add polymerization from your deck to your hand. And then next I play 3 copies of Molcharmy Perulia. And then I also play 3 copies of Molcharmy Fuwalos. Each of these Molcharmies let you discard them while you have no cards on your field, to then be able to draw when your opponent summons from a specific place. Perulia will let you draw when your opponent summons from hand. Fuwalos will let you draw when your opponent summons from deck or extra deck. You can only activate 2 Molcharmy effects per turn. And then during the end phase, if you activate their effect, then if you have more cards in your hand than your opponent does on field, +6, you will randomly shuffle the difference back into the deck. Then for the spell cards, I play 1 copy of Polymerization, just because this is a fusion-based deck. Then, because I usually go second, I also play 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. This just lets you destroy all your opponent's spells and traps. As at my locals, a lot of people will usually have an end board of at least 2 or 3 set cards, so just having a way to out them is, I like it manning at least 1. Next, I play 3 copies of Katu Dracotail. This card will let you add a Dracotail monster from your deck to your hand, and then your opponent controls a monster. Then you can fusion summon a dragon or a spellcaster fusion monster. And then I believe this will also lock you into fusion monsters for the rest of the turn. Okay, no, it does not fusion lock you, but the next card definitely does. Which is 3 copies of Rahu Dracotail. Rahu Dracotail is considered the branded fusion of the deck, as it lets you use a Dracotail monster from your deck, as well as monsters in your hand to fusion summon a Dracotail monster. And then after it resolves, you can't... Don't know why I'm yawning so much. After it resolves, then you can't summon the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for fusion monsters. Which, in this deck, is fine, because the extra deck is nothing but fusion monsters. Next, I play 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. Shaddoll Fusion lets you use monsters in your deck to fusion summon a Shaddoll Fusion monster. If your opponent has a monster summoned from the extra deck. If you don't have a monster summoned from the extra deck, then it is just a normal polymerization that has to summon a Shaddoll Fusion monster. And that's it for the spells. For the traps, I only play 6. I play 2 copies of Dracotail Sting, 2 copies of Dracotail Flame, and lastly, 2 copies of Dracotail Horn. Each of these traps share the last part of their effect, where after they resolve their effect, you can take a Dracotail card that is banished or in your graveyard, place it at the bottom of the deck, and then draw 1 card. Sting will let you target a monster and or a spell or trap in your opponent's graveyard. Banish those targets. Horn will let you target an attack monster on the field to return to the hand. And then Flame will let you target a spell or trap on the field and negate its effects. Or negate its effects till the end of the turn. And you can get away with playing one of each, but I prefer playing two of each because if I already use the Ketu and Rahu, I don't see a point to setting them when they'd have to survive an entire turn just for me to be able to use them again. Whereas if my opponent targets one of the traps and I have two of that trap in play, I don't care if they destroy the one. And then for the extra deck, I play one copy of Shaddoll Winda. Shaddoll Winda has the effect that, well, this is the floodgate effect that each player can only special summon once per turn while his card is on the field. Which usually I will wait for my opponent to activate a card like Emergency Teleport to then use the effect of Femena if I'm going second, fusing a Shaddoll in my hand with a Dark Monster to then fusion summon Winda. So then their Emergency Teleport will resolve. They then summon get their one special summon, and they can't special summon for the rest of the turn. And then, if I remember correctly, all these Shaddoll monsters have the effect that they all the Shaddoll fusion monsters share the effect that they go to the graveyard, and you can target a Shaddoll spell or trap that's in your graveyard and return it to your hand. Also, Winda has the effect that she cannot be destroyed by card effects. Next, I play one copy of Shaddoll Greista. Greista has the effect that, when your opponent would special summon a monster? Yeah. When your opponent would special summon a monster, you can send a Shaddoll monster from your hand to the graveyard to then negate that summon and destroy that monster. Honestly, though, Greista's only in this deck because I'll activate Shaddoll Fusion to fuse Shaddoll Dragon with Dracotail Urgula, which gets me 2 spell or trap destruction effects. Next, I play one copy of Dracotail Gulamel. Dracotail Gulamel has the effect that if you activate a Dracotail card or effect, except for another copy of Gulamel, you can then activate Gulamel's effect, targeting one card your opponent controls and destroy that target. However, in order to use this effect, you have to activate Dracotail effect, and your opponent does not do anything in response. And then Gulamel, like Arthalion, which I will get to Arthalion later. Arthalion, they both share the effects that if they're in the graveyard and 2 or more Dracotail monsters are sent to the graveyard at the same time, you can special summon them from your graveyard. However, they are banished when they use the field. And all of their effects are hard ones per turns, as I'm pretty sure I mentioned that all the Dracotail effects are hard ones per turns as well. Next, I play one copy of Shaddoll Construct. Construct just lets you, when summoned, send a Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. And then when Construct battles a special summon monster during the damage step, you can destroy that special summon monster. I don't think that's an optional effect, actually. I think it's just destroy that monster. Yeah, if it battles a special summon monster during damage step, you destroy that monster. And then next, I play a card for the Mirror Mat, or the Dracotail Mirror, which is one copy of Secretarian Dragon. Secretarian is also a floodgate monster, as well as while you control it, your opponent cannot activate the effects of dragons or spellcaster monsters they control. And then it also has the once per turn effect of being able to target a dragon and a spellcaster monster from your graveyard, special summon one, and then shuffle the other back into the deck. The dumb thing with this deck is that Secretarian Dragon can technically summon back Shaddoll Winda, which I think is stupid. Next, I play this deck's answer to Yummy, which is Mysterion the Dragon Crown. The Dragon Crown has the effect of when your opponent activates a monster effect that would summon itself, then on the resolution of that effect, you can activate Mysterion's effect to banish all monsters on the field of that same type. And then, I can't remember, but I think Mysterion has another effect after that. Okay, no, it does not. You can only use that effect once per turn. And then I forgot to mention it, but Secretarian Dragon and Mysterian Dragon Crown also share the effect that they lose 100 attack and defense for each of your banished cards. Next, I play one copy of Filia Regis, which has the effect that during the main phase, you can target one monster or one card on the field or in the graveyard. Okay, you target one card your opponent controls on their graveyard, banish it, and then if it was a monster on the, and if it was a card on the field, then you return a dragon monster you control to the hand. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can turn a dragon monster you control to the hand or extra deck to then special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Filia Regis once per turn. I'm still not entirely certain how I feel about this monster. If I end up never summoning it, then I'll probably just replace it with either a copy of Dracotail Gulamel, or I will just toss in a copy of Star Slayer Sky Crisis Typhon. The one that can be summoned just because your opponent's summoning from the extra deck twice. Next, I play one copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. This card is in here because I'm playing 3 copies of King of the Swamp, which can act as Dark Magician, and then you can just fuse King of the Swamp with any of the Dracotail Dragon monsters, which there are 6 of in the deck. But Dragoon is an Omni-Negate. With this deck, Dragoon cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. If your opponent activates that card or effect, you can discard a card from your hand to negate that effect if you do destroy that card. And then if you did destroy the card, then Dragoon gains an additional 1000 attack. And then its other effect doesn't matter because this deck doesn't make it with normal monsters, so its burning effect doesn't matter at all. And then next, I play 3 copies of Dracotail Arthalion. Dracotail Arthalion has the effect that when it's fusion summoned, requiring a Dracotail monster plus 1 or more monsters from your hand, you can target monsters on the field or in the graveyard equal to the number of monsters in your hand that you use as fusion material, and then return those targets back to the owner's hand. Which I really like making this when my opponent, or when I've used a Molcharmy against my opponent, and they just let me draw a ton, which I think is hilarious. I think at one point I summoned Arthalion and was able to target 12 monsters on the field in a graveyard, and it was able to just return them to the hand. Then next, I play 1 copy of Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. Tyrant Dragon is in here because you can fuse it has the same fusion requirement as Dragoon in this deck, where it requires King of the Swamp plus a dragon. Where the Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. It is unaffected by the effects of trap cards or the effects of trap cards, it's unaffected by traps and the effects of traps. And then lastly, once per turn at the end of the damage step, you can activate Tyrant Dragon's effect so that you can set a trap card from your graveyard. This card is the main reason why you can get away playing one of each of the trap cards in this deck, but usually if I can make Tyrant Dragon, making Dragoon is usually better. So, and that's why I'm playing 2 of each, and I'd rather set one of the traps instead of a spell that I've already used that is basically just a bluff until it gets to my next turn. And then the reason why I like to think it's the reason why they won against Mitsurugi, 1 copy of El Shaddoll Annoyatilis. Annoyatilis has the floodgate effect of neither player can summon monsters from the hand or graveyard by the effects of spells and trap cards. If Mitsurugi's hand is nothing but Mitsurugi cards, how does Mitsurugi play when they can't ritual summon? because the ritual spell is a spell card that would let you summon a monster from your hand. And then I also play one copy of Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera requires 3 monsters with different names with at least 1 on the field and 1 in your hand. When it is summoned, you destroy cards on your opponent's field equal to the number of monsters on field used to summon it. And then you can draw from your deck equal to the number of monsters in your hand you use to summon it. But in order to get the draw, you must also destroy cards, so that's one thing to keep in mind. And then Guardian Chimera cannot be targeted by card effects while Polymerization is in your graveyard. And then lastly, for the extra deck, I play 1 copy of El Shaddoll Shekinah. Shekinah has the effect if your opponent would activate the effect of a special summon monster. Then you can send a Shaddoll card from your hand to the graveyard to then be able to negate that effect. I do kind of want to put more Shaddoll cards in this deck. Like, I do want to play a copy of Apcolone. Probably also a couple copies of El Shaddoll Schism. Like, possibly only like 1 with Construct, but I'm still trying to figure that part out. The only reason I would do that, though, is because I want some of the Shaddoll monsters a little faster. But it's just a thought I'm having. I might honestly replace 1 of each of the traps with either 3 Schisms, or I'll replace them with one Schism and 3 Foolish Burial Goods. Because then I can set Schism from the graveyard, but it's just thoughts. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks like to see me made in the future, or decks like to see face each other, feel free to comment down below if you're still watching. And if you are still watching, thank you for watching.